Hello class, today we will be going over Standard 2, Reasoning Abstractly and Quantitatively. So, the first thing we're going to need to go over is our vocabulary. So very first, I'd like to go over the word contextualize, which you will be using a lot in this section. So the definition of contextualize is you'll see you have contextualize on your note sheet. If you need more time, just pause the video, take your time to get the definition you need down, write it in your own words for all these. So you're going to take a math problem, number, or concept and connect it to a real life situation or story. So we need to make sure that we are doing that so that would be like taking, let's say, 3x minus 2 or 3x plus 5 equals 20. And that would be like saying Braxton has 20 bucks and wants to buy a ball for $5 and 3 glasses. How much can he spend on each pair of glasses? So that would be something like that. Things that you could do, but like they're more tough. Like you can do them, but you can't just solve a problem. There needs to be a story behind the problem. It can't just be like x plus 5 equals 12 and then subtract 5 over and x equals 7. Okay, so just make sure there's a story behind that. The second word we'll be going over today is decontextualize. So for decontextualize, we'll be taking a word problem this time and turning it into a numerical form so that we can manipulate the symbols to solve the problem. So that would be like taking Jane has 16 baseballs and lost 7 of them, then had 6 of them stolen. How many are left? And that's where you would take that and turn it into like 18 minus 5 or minus 7 minus 6. And then you could solve that problem from there. But something that wouldn't work is just a statement for that. So it would be like Bob has 7 shirts and 5 jeans. That's just a statement. There's nothing to solve there. Quantity will be a big word in this section, as we will have, and that the definition for that is a number or amount of something. So anything can be a quantity as long as it can have a number and amount. So 6, 22, 34, or you can have 2y plus 4x equals 34 because y and x are both going to have a quantity once we solve for them. The next thing we will do, the next word that's going to be important, is quantitative reasoning. For quantitative reasoning, it's going to be applying fundamental math and statistical concepts to analyze data and solve real-world problems. So that's more like focusing on the context of what we're having and more using models and interpreting that context into graphs and whatnot. And then for the next thing, we'll be doing abstract reasoning. And abstract reasoning is going to be the ability to think about mathematical ideas, concepts, and relationships, focusing on the important details. Examples for an abstract reasoning would be like, what is x? If we had, let's say, a set of numbers in 3, 6, 9, 12, and x. And then we want to figure out what x is. That's identifying a pattern, and therefore we would recognize the pattern is adding 3 each time, so x would be 15. That's the most important part with abstract reasoning. Relationships are going to be very important in this. We need to make sure that we are identifying when there's a connection between 2 or more quantities, and really also know when there is an input and an output. Inputs and outputs will be very important when making those graphs for our qualitative reasoning. Variables will be very apparent in this when we are contextualizing or decontextualizing things. We need to make sure that we're able to put x's and y's in there. And that will be it for the vocabulary. And I want you guys to go over these two problems. So, first, I want you guys to contextualize the word problem. 3x, or problem, 3x plus 7 equals 22. And then I want you guys to go over the story problem. If Claire had 22 apples and she were to have 6 of them stolen and have two and eaten 2, how many would she have left? Thank you guys.